Hey guys, welcome back to the Homesteaders channel. Today we're going to make some pie dough, my go-to pie dough. You start off with 3 cups of all-purpose flour. So I use organic all-purpose flour just because I like to decrease the amount of glyphosate I consume. Glyphosate is the main ingredient in Roundup and is sprayed on all of our wheat products in the United States. I will link below one of my blog posts talking all about it. So after I put 3 cups of flour in a big bowl, I put 2 tablespoons of sugar and 1.5 teaspoons of salt. And go ahead and just mix that around, incorporate that into the flour. I go ahead and I add 1 cup of butter, which is 2 sticks of butter. I go ahead and use my cheese grater to grate the butter. This is probably the most easiest thing you can do. Obviously you can cut the butter in little pieces and then just mush the butter in the flour with your hands when you mix it, but the cheese grater actually does the job for you. You use it just how you would using cheese and grating that. I just grate the butter, cold butter by the way. Make sure that butter is cold. Go ahead and take out your butter from the refrigerator right before you need it and grate it like so. And so it's already nice and cut up for you. Now after your butter is all grated up, you just put it in your flour. This is why it definitely saves you time on cutting it up by hand yourself when the grater does it for you. You just put the butter in the flour and incorporate it. Now the whole point of the butter is just to make sure that your pie crust is nice and flaky. So as long as you have pieces of butter like that, as you see, very small chunks, you should be good. You can feel it also with your hands and make sure that all the clumps are at least between a penny and dime size. And if you feel that everything is nicely incorporated, then you can finally add your water, which is the next ingredient. And that's what I'm talking about. Just nice little clumps of butter all around your flour mixture. That's exactly what you're looking for. Very crumbly flour mixture. Alright, next you add half a cup of ice cold water. That's important. Ice cold water. Now you can use a little bit of it like I did, and then you mix it around. Definitely just fold the flour in itself. Make sure the water is touching all the flour, and then you go ahead and you add the rest of the half a cup of water. You might think that this is very little bit of water to make pie crust, but it's actually perfect amount that you need to make sure your dough is nice. This is the perfect amount of water you need to make sure your dough is nicely done. Now after all your water is in your bowl, you go ahead and you just keep incorporating, you just keep folding the dough in itself and make a ball of dough. You can use this you can use any type of hand tool first, and then you can pour out your mixture on your countertop and start kneading it. Now this process can take a little bit, so I'm going to actually show you how this is possible with, like I said, that a little bit amount of water, and all the ingredients will come together as you see. And so I'm going to go ahead and just show you how it does. Obviously you can fast forward this to the end, but this is how it is done in real time. Now this is the tool I use to cut the dough in half. This is definitely a go-to baking tool. I'll link that down below. You just cut the ball into two, and you actually have two sets of pie dough that you can save and put it in your freezer or use later that day. But that's the texture that we're looking for, nice and soft. That butter is all incorporated in that dough, and it's going to be nice, flaky, and delicious. So after you make your dough, you pretty much just pat it down in a disc-like shape like you're seeing me do, and this is to prep the dough to store it. I think it's easier to put it in this shape because as soon as you take it out of the freezer or refrigerator, it's easy just to roll out. And that's pretty much the thickness you want to preserve it in. I use saran wrap to freeze my dough in. You can use any airtight container, but as long as you tightly wrap your pie dough in saran plastic wrap, it will definitely last in the freezer for, I say, max 3 months. I'll link my blog post down below that talks all about how to save your pie dough, freeze it, and obviously this recipe. Now after your dough is nicely wrapped, you can put it in the freezer for about 30 minutes and it'll be good to go, or in the refrigerator for at least an hour or two. You want it to be cold. Now when you're ready to roll it out, you get a pie pan like that, and you flatten the dough like that. I didn't record this, so I'm going to show you in pictures. After you flatten it, you put the dough right on top of your pie pan, and you use your knuckle and your fingers to make these shapes. And this crimple effect is how you get this nice pie dough effect. It's definitely very simple, and it will work with this recipe. It will form and shape nicely. And there you go. That's how you make pie dough. You can definitely make this pie dough for any pie recipe. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. See you guys in the next one.